Welcome to the Ecom Insiders podcast. My name is Debbie, and this event is being sponsored by SPCTEK. Today's topic is the power of branding, how to build a strong brand identity for Amazon sellers. And my guest today is Kitty Lay. She is founder of Me Brand. Kitty Lay is a branding specialist, designer, and founder of Me Brand, a bespoke branding, packaging, and design service. As one of UK's leading branding authorities, Kitty brings over 20 years of experience leading and managing creative teams for iconic British retail brands like Ted Baker and Cath Kidston. With a strong focus on visually driven brand communication, she brings businesses to life through impactful design, unique packaging, and clear brand identity. Kitty's experience in crafting brands from the ground up is invaluable to clients who are seeking to build a successful and memorable brand presence. Welcome, Kitty.
Thank you so much, Debbie. It's great to be here, and what an introduction. Thank you so much.
I do a little bit of research.
Yeah.
It's always hard to decide what to keep and what to not, but you're so distinguished,
Yeah.
it deserved it. Tell me a little bit more about Me Brand and what services you guys provide.
Right. So, Me Brand is a design studio and consultancy, and we work with online sellers. We work with businesses and brands as well. And we focus mainly on the graphic design side of things, branding especially, and packaging, as well as some marketing, retail, graphics as well. But packaging and branding are generally the main bread and butter for what we do here.
So, how did you get started in your own company like this?
Well, like you mentioned, over 20 years of like working in retail companies and businesses. I obviously had a little boy, and then I fell out of love with design actually, and I didn't want to do it anymore. I actually stumbled upon an Amazon selling course actually, so I did actually learn all that, and then it all came back to me, and it's like, oh wow, I'm designing my own products. I'm designing my own brands. It's like, oh, actually, and a lot of people started coming to me, people I knew in the industry, or just saying, I need this designed and that. I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I just set up something for myself and let's do it, work from home and do that. And that's where it started in 2017, and here we are. We're still going, and I love it. The journey just got stronger and stronger, and it's something I'm passionate about as well.
What do you see as your long-term vision for your company?
So it's, well, to become the authority in this arena,
Good.
and to create innovative brands for brand sellers, and creating unique design solutions as well, and really focusing on what the customer and client wants. I want to obviously empower clients as well, so it's helping their businesses grow, so giving them educational sort of tools and advice. I mean, I already have a blog on my site as well, but I really want to sort of give back to people and learn a bit more about design, because not a lot of people do know about that. And also, I'm really heavy on the eco-friendly side of things and sustainability, and it's always
Yeah.
been something I've done throughout my career anyway. So it's something fairly new in this industry, but I've been doing it for such a long time. It's sort of inbred in me, so it's nothing new for me. But I'm constantly finding newness and trying to educate the customers and clients about what they can do for their business as well.
Yeah.
And I already work globally with clients as well, but I do want to sort of spread my wings even further afield as well, and just inspire a community of thriving creativity. I just want things to look beautiful globally. So for me, this is what my vision is, to basically be the authority, empower clients as well, give more creative variety as well, and work with different industries, and go be more global and eco-friendly.
Well, obviously, we have a lot of Amazon sellers who watch our channel. So I'm curious as to what you think the first steps are for an Amazon seller to build a brand identity.
Right. So a brand identity is everything when you're building a brand as well. So there's building a brand and there's building brand identity. So there's two things. Identity we associate with more of the visual aspects of things.
Mm.
But firstly, I would say if you're starting from scratch, and I want to talk about creating the brand identity, as opposed to you've already got a brand and you're going to build it, because you need to start from scratch. So if you've already got a brand, you can take out bits that you might not already have in your business, and then grow from there and build it from there. So I would say definitely start with defining your brand purpose and the vision and what your unique selling points are for your brand, because it's really important to make sure that you differentiate yourself from another brand. It's not like, oh, I like what they're doing, let's do the same. You need to have a purpose in what your brand's going to serve for your customer and how you approach that, and the vision for your brand as well. So it's not just, I'm going to create this product and that's it, and and then 2 years down the line, you think, oh, I want to grow it now. I
Yeah.
need new products. I want to add this on. And it's like, well, you didn't quite think of it from the beginning. So really think about what your vision is and your purpose, the brand purpose of what you're doing. And it's also researching your target audience as well,
Mm.
and what their preferences are. So it's really important when you're creating that identity, you understand who you're targeting, who you're talking to, who you're appealing to. You need to resonate with them as well, because that's where you want to make the sales. You're talking to specific people, and also at the same time, look at what your competitors are doing and identify any opportunities that can make some differentiation for your brand as well. Because I know a lot of sellers sell the same thing, but why are some selling better than others? There's something they're doing. It's probably their branding, their branding that they've created, their identity, the thing behind how they approach their customers, how they're talking to them. So, and it's also so that's part of it as well. The tone of voice and how you appeal to your audience is really important as part of your brand identity. And importantly, the brand name. If you haven't got one
Mm.
already, that really has to stick with the customer. It has to roll off the tongue. If you're going to create a name, you can pluck one out with thin air, but it has to be able to be remembered. You have to be able to sort of say it properly without compromising that. Oh, is it made of 10 words, or or one word, or can
Yeah.
you remember it firstly? And then having the logo, putting that into a logo form as well. So having that professionally designed, not like something you think, oh, I'm going to use a bit of clip art here and I'm going to do it myself. Or, it is important because you're a brand, you're a business, and you really want to be taken seriously and seen that way as well. So I would say those are the sort of fundamental things for the brand identity to start with. There are more, but those are the things that if you're starting to create your brand identity, think about that brand purpose, the vision, your unique selling point, the target audience. What are your competitors doing? Do it differently, and then some. And the brand name, think about that. The logo is important, and the visuals and the tone of voice as well
Yeah.
really apply.
When we talk about visual, talk a little bit about color palette and
Yeah.
how that plays into the identity, because I'm not sure everyone understands how carefully brands select their colors.
Yeah, so if you really go to town with it, there is color psychology behind color. Why we choose things. We are visual people, and we are attracted to things. You go into a store and think, oh, I need to pick up something, a bottle of shampoo, and it's like, well, where do I go? And you're thinking, oh, you might know your brands already, but for example, if you didn't, you go in, what am I going to pick up? And your eye will be attracted by something that stands out on the shelf. And so when it comes to the product, that's what you want it to stand out on the shelf. And colors really sort of work on our emotions, and and our behaviors as well. So when you have these particular colors, and not all color palettes will work for certain products, but when it comes to the brand, I don't think it doesn't need to be that complicated, to be honest. But I think, research does show that as having a signature color, can cause 80% increase on the consumer's behavior of like
Mhm.
buying from your brand, and retaining their loyalty. And it's important that that color is memorable as well, and consistent. And I think having something consistent as well, that think, oh, that blue is associated with that brand, and it's a really particular blue, I've never seen it before, and it's that, and it has to, it will influence the mood of the buyer, and it will shape that perception for your brand as well, and stand out from your competitors. And it's important to have color. Do your research, do your split testing, ask certain, have those, what are they called, those polls. You run a poll with your target audience, your market research, and see, do you like this color over that color? Because sometimes you might be surprised the color you actually really like, the 80% of the other people are saying they like this, and you think, oh, I thought I got it really right. But this is where some Amazon sellers get it wrong, because I think, oh, it's my brand, it's my baby, I like that color and I'm going to stick with it. But do your research, because you're selling to them, you're not selling to yourself. You've sold it to yourself already, but it's, color is really important. So you have to get that shade of green right, that shade of blue right, and you need to have a selection to sort of choose from. If you like blues, go for different palettes of shade, and you'll see a difference. It's like, oh, that one feels a bit cold. Actually, I don't, and that feels like a warmer logo. And, it does sort of, I can't explain it, but, I've seen design so much, and it just a slight shade difference. It makes you can change the whole behavior of a consumer.
Yeah. I know we've talked about logos, we've talked a little bit about colors and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about, and I think this is something people don't think about, is the type. How does type influence people?
So the typography is less important, but it has to be good type as well. It has to be legible. And I know a lot of products and brands I've seen have got it wrong, because I think, oh, I'll use this script font because it's quite different, and it's got a bit of character to it, but it doesn't match your brand, it doesn't match the product, it doesn't work. So it is important to choose a font that works well. And there are thousands of fonts out there, but if you look at most of the brands, they use very similar fonts. The sans serifs or a little bit of serif, they aren't that different. Helvetica, Gill Sans, Arial, they all are very similar. So look at what your competitors are doing. And there are some exciting brands that want to use a different font, and some are hand drawn and created specially just for a brand, and you can do that. But when it comes to the fonts on, sometimes you are limited when you're designing your website, say on a Shopify store or something,
Yeah.
Amazon and stuff. You are limited. You can upload your own fonts as well. But the variety you already have on there, that the selection you have are really good already. So you don't need to go out to town and do something too different. But with fonts, you need to pair them as well. So if don't just stick to one font, have two or three. I generally say two, because you can have different widths and of fonts, like the bolds, the blacks, the thins, and you can create a whole variety of things for visual text on the page, without making it look like you've got 10,000 different fonts as well. So yeah, it's important to keep consistent with two or three maximum fonts.
Okay, so we know Amazon is a highly competitive marketplace. What do you think a seller can do to really differentiate their product then in this high competitive environment?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, aren't we all all trying to get our product on that first page? You just want people to stop scrolling and you look at your product. And it is a tough market, I've got to say. But I work with a lot of Amazon sellers, and I see what they have, and some of them are outdated on some of the designs. So if you have had a brand around for a good few years, and you're selling well, but you think, oh, actually the sales a little slow down a little bit. What is going on? Why has the thing slowed down? Look at your branding. Look at the colors you're using, the layout that you have. It might be a bit dated. It might have been on trend like 4 years ago, but now things have moved on. And you kind of need to sort of keep up to date with what other people are doing. And it's quite evident when I do my research. I do look at across the whole board of all the competitors and see what their brand is like against their competitors, and there is a difference. And you think, oh, that's why they need help, because they clearly know that they're not up to date with their colorways, their
Yeah.
layouts, and it's they might have had a different designer design it as well. So I think it's to stand out, you have to keep refreshing and looking at what other people are doing. Don't just think, oh, sales are great. Can you be greater? Can you sell
Yeah.
more? You probably
Yeah.
can. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I think the point that you made about the persona, understanding the customer who's actually purchasing it, because if the colors and logo and everything has become a little bit dated, maybe you're not appealing to another portion of the audience. Maybe you're just appealing to the audience that you have and you're not inviting in new people. Tell me a little bit about what role storytelling actually makes in brand identity. You talked just a little bit about understanding the vision and what they want to do, but let's talk about storytelling. Influence people.
Yes, so storytelling is everything. Who doesn't love a story? As kids, we love a bedtime story. It captures our imagination. So if you're a brand and, you want to hook in your audience, you want to create that story and keep them intrigued about what your brand is all about. So, when you have that story, that can translate across your website, your social media, your marketing, your emails. How are you talking to your audience? You create a character, a persona character, that how you speak to your particular audience as well. You could be quite a fun brand, so you create a really quirky, fun little tone of voice to speak to your customers on social media, on email. But storytelling is very important, and if you don't have a brand story, you need to create something that, well, where's the origins? Where did it come from? There is something that has inspired you, so maybe use that and embellish it a little bit. You can, if it's really boring, just embellish it a little bit. People will love your story, and you can make stories up as well. People have characters for particular brands. They make these characters and think, wow, they've pluck this out of thin air, but people will fall in love with the story and what you're telling them, and you have to believe it yourself. But story is everything when it comes to brand, because without a story, you're just another another product, another brand.
Yeah. Now, packaging, you talked about it really when you just started and stuff. I love to hear that you're using, eco-friendly packaging and stuff like that. That's a big thing for me, myself personally. It helps to drive sometimes some of my purchasing decisions more maybe than even the product that's inside, because think we have to take care of this earth. But talk about how packaging really can strengthen the brand identity as well.
Yeah, so the packaging can, using eco-friendly, materials definitely helps as well, because consumers are really buying into that now. So if you're not using eco-friendly materials, biodegradable, recyclable, or, all those kind of materials, you need to start thinking about it, to be honest, because it's a huge trend at the moment, and
Yeah,
consumers do, like you said, it affects how you buy, affects how I buy. I definitely make
yeah,
sure that it's not over packaged or whatever. So when it comes to packaging with your Amazon products, you need to really assess, does it really need that? Am I over packaging it? And if it's got a poly bag, can it be biodegradable or something else? And really need to sort of look at, I guess it's down to budget as well, but you do need to sort of think about that, because it is a lot of customers, actually about 60% of customers do look at how it's recycled, how it's made, where does it come from. We are very conscious nowadays as consumers, and if you're not on that bandwagon, you're going to be left behind.
yeah,
um,
good point.
yeah, and there are ways that people thinking eco-friendly, sustainable packaging, it's expensive. No, it's not. It's not expensive. It can be, certain materials can be, but it's getting more and more available to us. I mean,
Mhm.
10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was really much more expensive.
Yeah,
Unless you had a really big bulk buying power, then that's different. But nowadays, I'm going to all these events and shows, and they're showing me stuff I've seen 10 years ago, and they're still showing these
mhm,
particular materials and things, and now it's more accessible to the consumer, to Amazon sellers and stuff, and you can shop around now a little bit more as well, unless you want really super unique kind of algae degradable kind of like materials, you can get some really special products out there, but it's available, and there's so many suppliers now. I think you can do a lot with your packaging, and it makes a difference. And a brown box doesn't have to be boring. It's not boring. You can really,
right.
you can brighten it up. It's down to the graphics, the layouts on it, and they can look really cool sometimes as well. Go on Pinterest, look at brown box packaging, and you'll see a whole array of things that look so cool and really nice. So don't be put off that, oh, brown box, that's what I can afford, but you can do lots of things to it.
Now, can you explain to people who are thinking about starting a brand how Amazon's A+ content or their enhanced brand content actually helps to contribute to building a stronger brand?
Yeah, so I think the buyer, can get the buyer on Amazon, they go into the shop, Amazon shop, and then they go, oh, I like this brand, and they click on it. They go into your, they see your EBC, they see your page, your store, and they get a much better picture of your brand. And this is where you want them to be, because there's no distractions, there's no other brands to look at, and you've got them in your store, and they can see all the other products, if you have any other products to display as well. And I think, oh, I could get that and I can pair it with that. And you've got them in, you've hooked them in, put that story on the page, get those
Yeah.
visual colors in, and that you can create a whole story on your store as well. There's lots of things you can put into the store, and a lot of brands do pack in a lot of things, all their products, and you can spend a lot of time in once you're in there, and it's getting that customer in. And I think it's very important to sort of make sure that you do have your A+ content sorted, your enhanced, EBC done as well. You make sure that you've got everything, and it works with all the algorithms and, everything else as well. So, that's a great way to sort of build your brand as well and get them to understand and know it better.
Well, Kitty, I can tell that you have all of this enthusiasm for the brand, the packaging, and just doing all of this. I have come across people who have said, you know what, I just, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I want you to talk about what that brand identity can do for loyal customers or repeat purchases on Amazon.
Yeah, so I mean, I buy a lot. I buy a lot on Amazon as well, and I
I do
do look at
too.
the brands. Yeah, guilty. Yeah, but yeah, if you don't have a good brand identity, it's gonna really not help you in the long run. People aren't loyal to brands, but if they see that, oh, I really like this, looks really nicely considered, something that we remember. Oh, I love the packaging, I love the story behind it, and they love everything. You're gonna get repeat purchases, and obviously you have to have a good product as well.
Yeah.
But the brand identity is everything. That's the first thing they see. They see your logo, that is your stamp, that's your mark for them to remember. Oh yes, them. And then the color, and it's you have to make sure that you want to be seen, you want to be remembered, you want them to come back. So if you don't have a good brand identity, it's not, there's no point. Go back to the drawing board and start again, because it is everything, and people do see good design, and people are more savvy now. I think, oh, that looks like it's designed in the garage somewhere, or and there are more and more you see on Amazon now. There's a lot of good quality design on
Yeah.
there. There's lots of good quality products, and because they've put the money in, they've invested into their brand, and that's what Amazon sellers should be doing.
Talk a little bit about what are some of when people come to you to develop a brand, what are some of the common branding mistakes that you're seeing that are being made that they haven't taken into consideration?
Yeah, so a lot of brands that have come to me have asked for help. Sometimes it's the logo. So they've had a logo, they either designed it themselves or they've had someone design it, and then they're kind of stuck. They kind of want to grow the brand, and it's like, I don't think I can do anything to it because I've named it. I've named the name is important. I've named it to fit just that product. So
Yeah.
you're thinking, well, you need to unstick yourself, and that's what I help them get unstuck. I said, well, you can take element of that away, and then we can change it. And a lot of Amazon sellers are reluctant to rebrand or change anything. So it's really hard to sort of get them to understand that it's not working. That's why you're not getting sales, and you're stuck. And my job is to get you unstuck. And often I've changed the colors slightly, just tweaked it slightly, and it just looks so much different because it's someone's just used that generic blue, but there's like hundreds of shades of blue, and then also products actually being dated. They do look outdated, and that's where it's like, well, you need to redesign this, and I can make it look 100% better. This is what your competitors are doing. Can you see how much better they're doing? And then we go from there, basically. And there's a lot of work, and I love it. It's like, oh, I know I can make it look great. And that's where a lot of people need to sort of assess, have a bit of an audit of your brand, and see what's not working, because you probably know deep down, actually, oh, I don't think it looks as good as that one, and so there's something wrong. There's something wrong. It doesn't look as good as that one. Go, let's make it look better. So yeah.
We touched just briefly on this, but I want you to talk about why it's important for Amazon brand sellers to focus on a niche when they're building the brand.
Okay, so but when they're building the brand, to hone in on a niche is, well, I say niche, you say niche. Yeah, so the niche, I mean, it really depends on your product. So if you're going to niche down, really think about, how much can you expand? Is that niche worth just going
Yeah.
down into that particular category as well? Because you can super niche in there as well, but it depends on the product and the brand, actually. So I can't say that you should do that, because I think lots of brands can expand, and they should expand, and there should always be room for growth. But some products do lend itself just to be in a particular niche. I'm going to say just in audio or something, or tech or audio or something. You can really niche down and just doing headphones and speakers and all those sort of kind of thing, and just niche down in that area. But if you want to be really super niche, then it's like, well, I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I think a brand can do that, and it's absolutely fine. But if you're thinking long term, so you have to think about where you're going to be 5 years, 10 years. Do you actually have a vision? So you have to put that vision in place. Are you going to expand into something else, televisions or washing machines? What
Yeah.
are you going to, so think about that as well. That might not be something, but I know a lot of sellers are quite, they're quite sensible. They think, oh, actually I can do this, and they'll just stay in that particular niche. But yeah.
Yeah. So, Kitty, if people wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
So they can go to my website. It's me brand design. Oh, hold on. mebranddesign.com. No, and it's just Kitty at mebranddesign.com. So that's my
And
website.
design is single.
It is single. Yes, single.
Okay, mebranddesign.com. If you have questions after watching this today for Kitty, or if you think that you have a brand that maybe needs a refresh, Kitty is available to give you some comments and let you know what she thinks. Very, very, very glad that we talked to you today, Kitty, just because I think when people first get started on Amazon, they're not thinking about brands. They're just thinking about, let's get this product on, let's start,
Yeah.
generating some sales and stuff like that. But as you go further down the line, you start to realize that you could have stronger sales with a brand.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's really important that everyone kind of evaluate where they're at right now on their Amazon shops. Is it time for you to start considering branding and stuff like that? I want to thank everyone for joining us today on Ecom Insiders, which is sponsored by SPCTEK. Our guest today, of course, Kitty Lay. And as you can tell, passionate about design and brand building. But if you have any questions, just leave them below in our comments. And if you enjoyed today's session, please subscribe to future editions of Ecom Insiders as well. Again, Kitty, thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been amazing.